So if somebody is hoping to start a healthcare business just like yourself, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, the first I would make sure is that you are an expert in what is being practiced within your business, because I have seen businesses where private practices are owned by people who are not clinicians, and I think that I haven't seen one really that I know of that's really been successful on that, because they're not able to jump in, if at all possible, to be able to see clients or offer clinical supervision or do anything else like that. And sometimes they miss some of the aspects of what you learn along the way to prepare you for some of the things that come our way, and also being able to have your own coaches. I would have never regretted how much money that I've spent in not just coaches, but also lawyers for compliance, because you don't want to find out later that you didn't do what you needed to do at the beginning during incorporation or anything, consents, everything. It's better to spend money on lawyers, coaches, and anything that you need to know, because that investment is on your long-term investment in the future. You really want to make sure that you have a strong foundation.
Welcome to the Convergence Play podcast.
Okay, thank you so much, Sabrina. I really appreciate you taking out time and meeting with me. And I really look forward to a great conversation. And especially, I am very excited about getting to know you, but also the business you are in, because you are in a very specific niche and this seems so important. So I think this can be a great starting point for us. Why not you take us on a journey of your own experience and your mission behind RNB Counseling?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that recognition. So again, my name is Sabrina Albert. I am the founder and clinical director at both Stonecatchers Counseling and RNB Counseling. RNB stands for Refugee and BIPOC. We are a mental health private practice primarily serving lower status communities of color who are on Medicaid. All of our therapists are women of color, so that way we can bring cultural relatability to the forefront for clients who really need that as part of the therapeutic process. About 93% of our clients are on Medicaid, and this is very important for us to promote just and equitable systems of care. We believe there's a lot of oppression in the field of mental health, counseling in particular, where you have to have commercial insurance in order to be able to access care, and a lot of times clients with Medicaid are at nonprofit agencies on very long wait lists, not being able to access care. So our goal was to kind of change the landscape of private practice, where you could actually access care regardless of what insurance plan that you had.
Understood. Thank you so much. And I was going through your profile, your past experience, and you have a long history of working in this particular area, especially mental health. Is this your current business? Is this inspired by any of your past encounters or past experiences, or what is the motivation behind setting this up?
Yeah, definitely. I have always struggled with my own depression. I have been a huge fan of mental health counseling treatment. And I've also been a social activist, majority of my life too. Yeah, just seeking racial equity and some of the struggles I had growing up as Indian American in a majority white town, being bullied, having parents that are from India. So having a cultural clash at home too. And really how that shaped a lot of my experiences, both with really wanting to bring mental health to communities of color and also to be able to reduce the stigma, because I know in a lot of different cultures, sometimes mental health counseling is not seen as something that is supported or praised, right? So being able to kind of bring those experiences and kind of really be able to address those so people can live happy and healthy lives.
Sounds great. Thank you. So we can dive deep into some of the practices, your business practices, and especially around technology. So how much you are depending on technology currently to provide care?
Majority, actually. So even though we are a hybrid practice, majority of our sessions are done via telehealth. So I would say when we opened, we were probably maybe 40% telehealth and 60% in person. But recently there's been definitely a pretty dramatic shift, considering the clientele that we serve too, of needing more telehealth services. So of the probably 12 to 1300 sessions per month that we run, probably about right now 75 to 80% of those are done via telehealth.
That's great. That's amazing. And uh, are you also using any EMRs or any other tools in order to keep good record of patients' history and prescriptions and all those?
Yes, we do. So our electronic medical health record system is called Simple Practice. There's a lot of things that I feel like Simple Practice is really great at. There's a lot of things that I do not think that they're great at, and I have made my complaints very clear. I'm actually battling with them now about some of the issues that we're having. So some things can be really seamless with them, but some things can be also be very challenging.
That's great to know that. And again, the challenges are always a way forward in order to improve your system. So if you have to summarize, again, one of the question we always ask founders is because a lot of our listeners are also C-level executives, and sometimes they have some great piece of advice to offer. And likewise, a lot of people who listen to us are the one who are trying to start their own business. So some of the challenges that experiencing right now. So, how are you managing work around those at the moment? Are there any best practices you have in place, or is there any manual work you are doing? So, how are you managing the workaround for those?
Yeah, so when it comes to like some of the challenges, like for example, when we opened like one of our new systems, we were trying to be able to get like, electronic remittance ad values and everything all electronically done, which is how it normally is. But sometimes Simple Practice has issues like connecting those systems with the clearinghouse. So my thing is really just to communicate with their customer service, which is questionable too. There's some EMRs that have, like a full customer service team you can call at any time. Like Simple Practice really isn't like that. Most of their stuff is done like they want you to send an email, they want time to think about it, and sometimes those delays can cause like a lot of havoc, right? I mean, if you wait a month before you respond to me telling you that, hey, I'm having to manually enter every single claim that comes in instead of it being done electronically like it's supposed to be done, I mean, it's hours and hours of extra time, right? I will say though, in general, like those issues aren't present. So I try to think of like when it comes to what are the things that our business really needs to be able to function and be sustainable, and that's billing. And if the billing is a smooth process for me to be able to submit claims in a seamless way, I'm going to prioritize that because that is what's going to save me like the most amount of time in the long run. So I kind of track like how much time am I spending on problems? How much time am I spending on this? We also had two of our therapists start to investigate other EMRs, interview them, find out their billing, find out their customer service, find out everything. We did this whole push for probably about 3 months to see if we could find like a better fit, and we weren't able to. So I would definitely recommend that even when you're working with a system that you think works, or even if you're having issues, is to be able to take time to kind of like at least investigate and to see what other options are out there. Otherwise, we can kind of fall into that, oh, this is the way we've always done business, or oh, I'm uncomfortable with change, so I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and to really be able to like kind of challenge those processes. That's something that we recently did with note writing. So we were having some difficulties with Medicaid. They were requiring very like long documentation. They were saying that they weren't happy with what they were seeing in audits. So we were trying to figure out how can we increase our notes, our documentation to meet criteria, but not add all this extra work to our therapist where they'll be frustrated and not want to work in the field, right? So we found we had to investigate and research tons of AI note writers, right? That were ethical, that wouldn't put in like supposed statements that the client made during sessions because that's not ethical. We have to document ethically until we found one that was good that we could really integrate into um, the EMR that we were using. So that way our therapist can kind of produce notes faster while still meeting the criteria that Medicaid is looking for.
That's great. And I was hoping to ask you the same thing when we were talking that how are you balancing the quality of care and all these administrative and operational and technology challenges. So I think there are some EMRs in our understandings. There are also some EMRs who come equipped with very good AI features for transcription and documentation. But at the same time, I think again there are a lot of EMRs who are not 100% suited for medical health practices, yeah, they may be suited for some journal practices. So yeah, it's good. I think if you have this thing on your mind to explore and really put some more efforts into finding the right EMR that can take care of a lot of your administrative and documentation work, because I think, as you said, doctor should be able to spend more time with patient, not with EMR or not with computer. I think that should be the ultimate goal.
Right. Right. Agreed. The one issue though with EMRs and their AI like note helpers is oftentimes they record sessions, and that's not something that when you're working in mental health, that can really be like a sensitive issue when people are talking about very like serious and very personal situations like in their lives and traumas. So Simple Practice has a recording thing that you can sign up for, and we chose not to go that route. We chose to research an AI note writer that will help speed up the process of the note, where you can document it, and like some things that you have to put in notes are either pre-written or you can write a very small amount and it'll really like just make it have more detail, and be able to pick symptoms and things like that quicker with like, boxes that you can check. But we don't believe that our clients would be comfortable with any kind of note transcription and recording sessions, and neither were our therapists.
So right now, I think there should always be, and I think that may be the case here too, that there should always be human in the loop. Yeah, these tools work great. They collect a lot of good information. They create good notes. But for healthcare, I think there should always be human in the loop. Then there should be a step where you can just take a quick look at that to make sure everything is right up to the mark before actually inputting it into the system. I think that must be the approach you might be using at this moment with your current notes taker, if I assume so.
Yes, definitely more of a human touch and making sure that there's no exact quotes that were like put in that the client supposedly said, because even that's not natural. Like if we're going to quote something and it's important for it to be documented, like we need to actually really be typing that out and make sure that the client said it, because medical records are used for a lot of different things. Sometimes they're subpoenaed for court. Sometimes, like for people who are applying for disability, we have to produce records, right? For DCFS, things along those lines. So it's really important that what is being documented is authentic and true.
So that's great conversation. So I want to touch a little bit on the integration part as well. So one integration, as we are talking, is that AI note taker is being integrated with the EMR you are using. Are there any other tools that you have integrated as part of your process, or are there any other tools you are hoping to integrate in near future to improve overall outcome for your patients?
I think overall it would be great if we could have multiple practices under one system. Like I do run two practices. We're actually opening a third, and we have to have three different EMRs for that. And like that can be kind of obnoxious because there's other EMRs where you can have all three like on different things with different tabs, and you're running multiple practices on one page. And I think that Simple Practice is either working towards there or will be there soon. But when you're operating multiple companies, having like three different logins, three different passwords, and you're getting kicked out of one system when you log into another, that can like really be time consuming. I'm hoping that like a lot of times we can't fully integrate our note writer. We actually have to like kind of like copy and paste, where because the one that they have integrated in the Simple Practice system is the recording one. So if they would allow the option to integrate whatever it is that the program that you feel most comfortable would be, that would be like a time saver too. That would be really helpful. I know Simple Practice, like they also have billers that you can hire to do for them to do your billing. We prefer to be able to just do that on our own. So those are some integrations that is offered, but we don't necessarily take them up on that offer. So
Thank you. So, if we talk about the communication aspect for your patients, so typically, are there also other stakeholders involved? For example, patients or their family members. Are there other stakeholders involved through to which you are also communicating as part of your caregiving?
Sometimes. So if somebody was like, oh, I really want this person to be involved, or if it's a school referral and then the client has signed a release of information, and that way we can be talking to the school social worker, whoever is involved, parents, I mean, we encourage it because the more people who are involved in someone's care, especially when like clients are younger, the better our outcomes are. But that's not always the case, right? Sometimes there's other people who may need to talk to us, like if people are in a child custody case, right? And the parents have signed off, and then we have to communicate with their lawyers, or the guardian ad litem, who is a lawyer that represents children during a child custody case. So those are people that we have to communicate through. And we normally, send them a release of information and things like that that they can sign and then be able to send back. So that way we're able to communicate.
Okay. So many companies in mental health space, they need to have very active patient engagement system in place. So they are like sending a lot of useful content to them, some videos, some reading material, some practices to do. So is this also applicable to your case that you have to communicate outside of course, typical visits and typical sessions? Are there also the need for patient engagement on your end?
Yeah, not too much though, because usually when they're in session or does we talk about like different things that they can do, or like an article that they can read, or we'll send them the link like right then and there, like while they're with us. So we don't have to do too much of that outside of the room because it's usually done in session.
Got it. So, if we talk about your team, how big is your team right now? And do you also have a technical team with you to help with technology, or your current clinician team is the one that is also dealing with that aspect of business?
Right. We don't have a technology team. We have 12 therapists, 3 support staff, and 5 board members for because R&B Counseling is a nonprofit, so we do have to have a board for that. So, mhm.
So is this something on your roadmap? Because the reason I'm asking is that there will be a lot more penetration of technology in like there will be many other tools coming into play in near future or coming years. So is this also something on your roadmap to consider to have couple of people help you across multiple practices on technology fronts of the things?
I don't think so. We're a Medicaid practice, so we always have to keep things lean because we never know when Medicaid will change, or they'll stop paying, or the policy will change, and then half our clients will lose Medicaid. I mean, like, there's a lot of different things when you're operating with government money that you have to be careful for and plan, which is why, even in my role as a founder and CEO, even after these years, I mean, we do pretty well. We collect just under $2.2 million per year. We have good revenue, but I still am the intake coordinator, the biller, the this, that, because at any given time, things can dramatically change, and you want to keep payroll as lean as possible to be able to adjust to those income changes.
Absolutely. Understood. So if we talk about your big picture vision, some, let's say 3 years from now on, where you want to be with R&B.
So we want to be more in the community, inspiring other therapists to take Medicaid, because right now it is very, very hard to find providers that take Medicaid, which ultimately our society pays a consequence for that, with so many people being left untreated and having an inability to access care. So we hope to be able to inspire more people and to run trainings to get more of our therapists to open Medicaid clinics, so that way people aren't having to just be only have access to 1 or 2 places, particularly if they're looking for in-person services like in DuPage County, because there are more places that take Medicaid when you hit like the Chicago limits and things like that. But when you're in the suburbs, it can be very difficult. So we're leaning more towards inspiring other people and having more of our therapists be out in the community learning how to engage with other therapists. So that way we can really create our vision of a just and equitable system of care in the community.
That's great. That's great to know. And are there any events you organize or attend for better community engagement in this particular domain?
Yeah, definitely. So we typically support galas and other places for agencies that are nonprofits who are doing work with people who are coming out of prison, people who are doing work in the criminal legal system, places who are serving like refugees and immigrants, like World Relief Chicago. There's like agencies that are just doing really amazing work that we really try to network with, support, uplift, kind of share resources, try to figure out how we can help each other. And that's definitely a priority for us.
That's great to know. And Sabina, I want to ask you, of course, one thing we talked was the efficiency of EMR. Other than that, what technical trends are on your radar to be look out for in terms of adoption in near future?
I mostly what we talked about earlier is like how can we integrate all practices like into one system, right? Like even for QuickBooks, where we run payroll, I'm actually going to reach out to them today to see if we can kind of integrate multiple practices like in one setting because I think that you're able to do that, and I want to be able to ask that about all systems like being under one page because I think it would be more motivating to be able to manage and reduce a lot of time if you could bill under one system, run payroll into one login, like have one like just system for like everything. So that way it's not just like so many different things like, okay, I'm going to work on this practice now, log out, now log back into like this practice and do that. I mean, currently it's how we do it with payroll. Like I run payroll once and then I log into the other system for the other payroll and then log into one simple practice account, then log into another. And that kind of things can take time. So I am making it a mission over like the next like probably 6 to 8 weeks to try to figure out how to like keep things more smoothly and more efficiently run by asking more questions, asking more about integration, because we are launching our third company soon, which is going to be called Just and Equitable Counseling. And it's only going to work well if we can try to figure out how to integrate all of these systems into one program.
Great. So in terms of course, growth comes with, of course, you need cash and you need budget. Do you have good forecasting in place for near-term goals and long-term goals? Like, for example, for next 1 year or 2 year, do you feel that you have right sense of budgets in place?
Yes, actually. So Medicaid actually just recently gave us a raise, which allowed us to give our therapists like a pretty significant raise. So starting this quarter, like all of our therapists are going to be who see 25 clients per week are going to be making six figures. And that is something that they definitely deserve. And we've been able to increase their rate that it matches the Medicaid reimbursement rate. So the one good thing about it, though, is we can also, instead of getting bigger, we can kind of stay a little bit smaller, right? Like we don't have to have 16, 17 therapists like we used to have, like to be able to offset the lower reimbursement from Medicaid because we were offsetting lower reimbursement with being high volume. Now we don't necessarily have to do that. So we found that the smaller the staff are and the smaller we can get, the more time that everyone can kind of enjoy rather than like our goal is not to become like huge or anything else like that. We just want to inspire other people to open their own practices, and then we can just have multiple Medicaid practices throughout the county and the state.
Sounds great. So, if we talk a little bit about, and we touched base on this, was the data security part of patients. So how much efforts you are putting into actually ensuring the data security of patients, and do you see that as a challenge in future, or you feel that the current approaches or current tools you are using are doing a decent job of that?
That's a really great question. Because you're right, we do put a lot of trust in the simple practice into ensuring the privacy, right? Because they hold everything there. Like that's where our consents are signed. That's where we do all of our calendar, billing, documentation, notes, right? So every single thing is really like built into that system. So I probably have to think about that a little bit more about what we need to do to be able to ensure that those systems are secure and that they're doing what they need to do to ensure that. Because, I mean, patient privacy is huge in our field.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Understood. Of course, yeah, a lot of these also come at a shared responsibility model that, yes, service providers, they do take care of a lot of things, but yes, there might be some security needed on your end. I'm sure you must have all those things in place, like a secure network and making sure that devices are antivirus free and all those things. So yeah, I
Right.
think it's a very important, especially we all know that, God forbid if a breach happens, this can be very dangerous for a healthcare business. Then it becomes very difficult to survive. So I think a lot of focus is in near future is not only going to be on AI but also on cybersecurity and compliance part of things as well. So I'm really enjoying our conversation, but I have a very important question to ask you, and
Sure.
I'm sure you will have a great answer for that. So as I said, lot of our listeners are aspiring founders, people who are trying to start a business. So if somebody is hoping to start a healthcare business just like yourself, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, the first I would make sure is that you are an expert in what is being practiced within your business, because I have seen businesses where private practices are owned by people who are not clinicians, and I think that I haven't seen one really that I know of that's really been successful on that, because they're not able to jump in, if at all possible, to be able to see clients or offer clinical supervision or do anything else like that. And sometimes they miss some of the aspects of what you learn along the way to prepare you for some of the things that come our way. Like, I mean, we get audited by Medicaid all the time, but I also worked in the field prior to even opening this for, 17 years, knowing how to deal with that anyway, because I'm in the field that I practice in. So just really being an expert in what is being practiced, like within your arena, and also being able to have your own coaches. Like, I would have never regretted how much money that I've spent in not just coaches, but also lawyers for compliance, because you don't want to find out later that you didn't do what you needed to do at the beginning during incorporation or anything, consents, everything. Like, it's better to spend money on lawyers, coaches, and anything that you need to know, because that investment is on like your long-term investment in the future. Like, you really want to make sure that you have a strong foundation to be able to build on. And the third would be just be very, very careful about who you hire, right? Sometimes we can get caught up in like impulse hiring and things like that. I had an issue with that earlier when we first opened, right? Where it was like, oh no, we got to hit these numbers. We got to get somebody in. We got to make sure these clients like aren't left without a therapist, when really what I needed to do is step back and really be able to say, what are we actually looking for? Who are the people that are aligned with our value system, our vision, who can really uplift our brand, right? And really getting the courage and confidence to let go of people who were not on board with that, because having toxic staff and toxic people who are not value aligned or anything, I mean, that can really ruin a business.
Great piece of advice, and I would say that, and that's what we observed, that authentic leaders who actually know the space well in which they are trying to do business, they are typically more successful. And I could not agree more to your advice of hiring the culture fit organization, because I think this is so important for growth and for sustainability. And I want to ask you a little bit further on the same subject, that when you bring in somebody, of course, you bring in based on your conversation, your interview, and based on your past judgment, but you still have to do your efforts of instilling a culture of excellence in them. And especially in healthcare domain, it's become so important that the people who are working for your organization should really prioritize care over everything else. So, in your experience, what are those factors or measures that a founder should take to make sure that the culturally fit people are also understanding the organization vision and bringing in that mindset of excellence in what they do?
Yeah, that is a great question. I think the one thing that is really important is to not just look at resumes, not just look at background, but also to have multiple people involved in your organization be able to interview that person, and for that person to interview whoever they want. So one thing we've been thinking about implementing is, after they do the initial screening and then the in-person interview, is that the candidate can interview any single person that they want to be able to really understand the values. And it doesn't even have to be somebody like in leadership, to really understand like, what do we do here? Why is it important? And what the values are, right? One thing that we found is like, a lot of people would say like, oh yeah, I'm very motivated to serve the poor and everything. I love what you're doing. But then if they would leave our agency, they would go to a place that doesn't hold those values at all, which means they would abandon all of their Medicaid clients because they went to a commercial practice that didn't even take Medicaid, right? So we learned to find that, like, do you have a documented history of working with Medicaid clients? And if not, what makes this experience different? And like, how are you going to let us know that if you decide to leave, that you're not going to abandon your clients, you're going to take all of your clients with you, right? And if people cannot actually like explain that or not commit to that, we don't even move forward anymore, because we know that there's like a value conflict, right? And people maybe just coming for like a certain benefit or a certain pay or certain things like that that aren't really aligning overall with everything that you need to be aligned with to work at a place like this, right? Like our clients are already struggling with so much trauma and abandonment for not being able to access care their entire lives, being poor and on Medicaid. So they can actually get re-traumatized if they have a therapist who are with them and it's like, oh, I'm leaving, I'm going to a commercial practice, I'm not taking you with, right? It can really activate the trauma that they came in for the first from in the first place for.
So much for great insights. I think we are almost reaching our time limit, but I really appreciate you sharing your wisdom, your experience, and I wish you all the best, R&B, with all the plans.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. I enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you so much, and looking forward to getting your story out very soon.
Okay, thank you. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.